Hi poetry lovers, welcome to my channel Bella Poetry Presents. Again, I'm here to present to you a new segment in our fourth series, Poetry at Random. A couple of weeks ago, when I posted my latest segment, one of my listeners asked me to post a segment about Rabindranath Tagore. And I decided to do that because he was a very interesting man, with controversial history, but he was known as one of India's greatest poets that managed to venture into the West. So people all around the world know Tagore very well. His poetry and his stories were translated into English as well. So let's talk about Tagore. He was a Bengali poet, a short story writer. He wrote songs, so he was a song composer, playwright, essayist, and painter who introduced new prose and verse form and the use of colloquial language into Bengali literature, freeing it from the traditional models based on Sanskrit language. He was highly influential in introducing Indian culture to the West and vice versa, and he is generally regarded as the outstanding creative artist of the early 20th century India. Rabindranath Tagore was born on May 7, 1861 in Calcutta, India. He was the youngest son of Rabindranath Tagore, a leader of a new religious sect. He was educated at home, and although at 17 he was sent to England for formal schooling, he did not finish his studies there. On December 9, 1883, Tagore married Mrinalini Devi, who was originally called Bhabatarini. I hope I pronounce it correctly, very complicated names. According to their father's wishes, who worked at the Tagore estates as clerk, she was married to Tagore when she was only 10 years old. And that is a very controversial fact of his life because the girl was very, very young. And according to our standards and general human standards, it is not okay, but that's what happened. So the ceremony took place in Jorosanko. Rabindranath himself was 22 years old. So there, on top of the fact that she was minor, only 10 years old, he was 22, 12 years her senior. The wedding was hurried and fell on an unfortunate day because Rabindranath's sister Saudamini Devi's husband Sarada Prasad, oh my God, these names are very complicated, Gangopadhyaya, died on this day. Again, forgive me if I mispronounce these names. For this reason, Rabindranath's sister, his father, and his brother were not present at the wedding. As the name Bhabatarini was considered old-fashioned by some of the Tagores, Rabindranath, according to the suggestion of his brother, changed her name to Mrinalini Devi and sent her to Loreto School as she was illiterate when he married her. Together, they had 5 children. Mrinalini Devi fell ill in 1902 while the family lived together in Santiketan. Doctors in Calcutta could not diagnose her illness. Her son, Rabindranath, later speculated that her mother had appendicitis. After 3 months, she died on November 23, 1902, at a very young age of 29. After her, Rabindranath never married. He fell in love, I'm sure, a few times, but he never actually married anybody else. Then another terrible tragedy struck. In 1903, Renuka died 9 months after her mother's death, his daughter. There was more sorrow to come with the death of his father in 1905 and of his youngest son, Samindranath, who died of cholera in 1907 when the boy was only 11 years old. And so years of sadness arising from the death of his wife and 2 children and his father in such a short time between the years of 1902 to 1907 are reflected in his later poetry, which was introduced to the West in 1912. And the collection of poems was called Song Offerings. In 1891, Tagore went to East Bengal, now in Bangladesh, to manage his family's estates for 10 years. There he often stayed in a houseboat on the Padma River in close contact with the village folk, and his sympathy for them became the keynote of much of his late writings. Tagore came to love the Bengali countryside, most of all the Padma River, an often repeated image in his verse. During these years, he published several poetry collections, notably Sonar Tari in 1894, translated in translation The Golden Boat, and plays, notably Chitrangada in 1892, which is shortly called Chitra. In 1901, Tagore founded an experimental school in rural West Bengal, there where he sought to blend the best in Indian. He wanted to blend actually the best in Indian and Western traditions. He settled permanently at the school, which became Visva Bharati University in 1921. So from time to time, he participated in Indian nationalist movement, though in his own non-sentimental and visionary way. And Gandhi, the political father of modern India, was his devoted friend. Tagore was knighted by the ruling British government in 1915, but within a few years he resigned the honor as a protest against British policies in India. Tagore had early success as a writer in his native Bengal. With his translations of some of his poems, he became rapidly known in the West. In fact, his fame attained a luminous height, taking him across continents on lecture tours and tours of friendship. For the world, he became the voice of India's spiritual heritage, and for India, especially for Bengal, he became a great living institution. Although Tagore wrote successfully in all literary genres, he was first of all a poet, and that's why we're talking about him on this channel. Among his 50 and odd volumes of poetry are Manasi, published, the ideal one, published in 1890, Sonar Tari, The Golden Boat, published in 1894, Gitanjali, published in 1910, which is called the Song Offerings, which we already mentioned before, Gitanjali in 1914, in English the translation is The Wrath of Songs, and Balaka, published in 1916, which in translation is The Flight of Cranes. Tagore was also famous for writing wonderful plays, and his major plays are Raha, The King of the Dark Chamber, Dahar, published in 1912, The Post Office, The Immovable, published in 1912, The Waterfall, published in 1922, and The Red Oleanders, published in 1926. He's the author of several short stories and a number of novels, between them Gora, published in 1910, Garber, The Home and the World, published in 1916, and The Cross Currents, published in 1929. Besides this, he wrote musical dramas, dance dramas, essays of all types, travel diaries, and 2 autobiographies, one in the middle years and the other shortly before his death in 1941. Tagore left numerous drawings and paintings and 2,000 songs. Just think of this crazy number of songs. 2,000 songs for which he wrote the music himself. So definitely a multi-talented person, incredible writer and poet. From 1912, Tagore spent long periods out of India, lecturing and reading from his work in Europe and America and East Asia, and becoming eloquent spokesperson for the cause of Indian independence. In 1913, Tagore became the first non-European to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature. In the late 1920s, when he was in his 60s, Tagore took up painting and produced works that won him a place among India's foremost contemporary artists. So no matter what he touched, turned to gold, literally. On September 15, 1940, Tagore had severe pain in his abdomen in Kalimpong. Doctors claimed he had an infection of the urinary bladder and ought to be rushed back to Jarasanko, where he stayed briefly before moving back to Santiniketan. While Tagore wanted to continue with Vedic treatment, he was forced to remain under the supervision of the famous doctors, Bidhan Chandra Roy and Neil Ratan Sarkar, both of whom suggested surgery, but Tagore very stubbornly and adamantly refused to have it. His condition became so critical that he had almost stopped passing urine, which is extremely painful. While the doctors did not operate on the enlarged prostate, they did a bypass surgery to remove the accumulated urine. On August 7, 1941, oxygen tubes were removed, and finally Rabindranath Tagore was pronounced dead at 12:10 p.m. The news spread like wildfire, and thousands of people rushed to his bed to pay their last respects. Tagore always wished for a silent and dignified death. In his last day, he said that following his death, he wanted to be put to rest under the open sky amidst the freedom and silence of nature, because he truly loved nature and wrote about nature a lot. But it didn't happen in reality. Tagore's body was carried by numerous unknown people with loud slogans. His last wish, as we can see, was not respected. Although no direct descendants of Rabindranath Tagore are alive today, the legacy of the Tagore family lives on through their works, their ideals, and the institutions that they founded. So this is the story of Rabindranath Tagore, which is an amazing story of success and tragedy, like human life often is. It's not just one-sided, it's a mixture of different happenings and emotions. So we're going to read a couple of his poems. The first poem is called Friend. Art thou abroad on the stormy night, on thy journey of love, my friend? The sky groans like one in despair. I have no sleep tonight. Ever and again I open my door and look out on the darkness, my friend. I can see nothing before me. I wonder where lies thy path, by what dim shore of the ink-black river, by what far edge of the frowning forest, through what mazy depth of gloom art thou threading thy course to come to me, my friend. Another poem, the second poem that we'll read today, is called On the Nature of Love. The night is black, and the forest has no end. 1,000,000 people thread it in 1,000,000 ways. We have trysts to keep in the darkness, but where or with whom, of that we're unaware. But we have this faith that a lifetime's bliss will appear any minute with a smile upon its lips. Scents, touches, sounds, snatches of songs brush us, pass us, give us delightful shocks. Then, peradventure, there is a flash of lightning. Whomever I see that instant, I fall in love with. I call that person and cry, this life is blessed. For your sake, such miles have I traversed. All those others who come close and moved off in the darkness, I don't know if they exist or not. Now, I will try to show you the portrait of Rabindranath Tagore. He was a very handsome man, and in his old age, he had a big, beautiful white beard. So, I'm going to turn my computer to you so you can see him. Very distinguished face. One second, I apologize. Okay, so here he is. The portrait of Rabindranath Tagore. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you liked and you learned from our segment, this week's segment, about Tagore, the great Indian poet, not just the Indian poet, but the world poet at this point. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. My channel has over 50 segments that discuss the unbelievable, interesting, fascinating, tragic lives of different poets and what inspired them to write the wonderful poetry that they did. And also, we present 2 or 3 poems for each segment, so you'll be familiar with their beautiful poetry. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next week. Bye-bye.